So, this is just kind of a fun little tidbit that we found out about Guardians of the Galaxy. Personally, I wish this had happened. I think this is funny. Apparently, James Gunn wanted to kill off Stan Lee in a Stan Lee cameo in Guardians. And originally, the idea was supposed to be that Stan Lee was going to be in one of the cells in the prison, and that when they blew it up, Stan Lee dies. That's what they were going to do. And for some reason, they ended up deciding not to go there. But anyway.
For just a second, I thought you were going to say that Stan Lee was in one of the cells in the Collector's Collection.
That's what it was. No, I'm sorry, not the prison. Yeah, that's what it was. Because he was supposed to be close to Howard the Dog.
I love that idea.
I think that's really fun. I don't know why they didn't do that. I think that's really funny.
Because he's
and they
like,
could
I
have
want to die.
Well, they could have had him get out too. I think Stan Lee would have been totally fine with it. Personally, I think he would have thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Next up, okay, so have you heard, Vince, about the Rocky spinoff? I did not know this was happening. Okay, so have you seen the Rocky movies?
I've seen one of the Rocky movies.
Okay. So, they're doing. First of all,
and I know about them.
I don't know if you guys know that. I'm not a fan of the Rocky movies, but I like them a lot. I've seen all of them, and they're doing a Rocky spinoff called Creed that is about the that's about the grandson of Apollo Creed from the first two movies, and of course Apollo Creed, the big major boxing rival of Rocky, and he's being played by Michael B. Jordan, who's the guy who's playing Firestorm, Human Torch, Firestorm. I've got Flash in the brain, Firestorm, the Human Firestorm in the new Fantastic Four movie.
Fire Guy number 3 is
that means the Flash's memory.
And
so
this is a really amusing article. So that I read. So apparently, what happened was Sylvester Stallone put out a tweet that had a picture attached with a desk and a page of the script on it, which wouldn't have been a problem if it hadn't been a high quality photo. But you can read the page of the script, and it happens to be in the third act and gives away all the major plot points of the ending.
Oh no!
And I've read what it's about, and I won't spoil it here in case people don't want to know. I wish I hadn't read it, but unless they did it on purpose as like a viral thing to throw people off, and I wonder if that's what they're doing. Because the article I read was like, that was a big mistake, but I'm wondering if it wasn't on purpose and if they're not trying to throw people off the mark. So it's going to be cool to see the movie and see if the ending is not completely different from that page.
However, let me ask you this.
I think that would be so cool.
Of what you've seen, would that make a great ending?
It seems like the typical thing, which really makes me wonder. Because
that's why I had to.
And I'm a little surprised that people are jumping the gun right away and going, "Oh man, how could he possibly do?" I think that's a little gullible because that page is so forefront in the picture. I just think Stallone is smarter than that.
But let me ask you this: does that make news? Bring it full circle there.
That's fair.
That makes news.
Yeah.
That's clickbait, I suppose.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's your point? It's just Stallone making a tweet. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
I mean, like I said, it could be a viral thing to get a lot of attention for the movie, but that would be. But on the other hand, that's kind of a weird way to do it, right? Yeah. To let's make everybody think. Let's do this awkward thing where a lot of people think that this is actually the ending, and other people are maybe wiser to it if I'm right, and are like, oh, maybe it's going to be a totally different ending, and they'll completely surprise us and subvert our expectations.
It is still very odd.
But that strikes me as a strange choice.
Like, what if people decide that they don't need to go see it because they know the ending?
Because they know the ending, yeah.
I would wonder, what if this was the ending, and they decide to change things around before it gets released, do like a quick rewrite and yada yada.
Yeah.
And it ends up having third act syndrome because it gets weird toward the end because they need to write something completely different.
So you're saying like they were trying to judge reaction by putting this.
No,
out
he's
there?
just saying maybe it was an accident.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Oh.
What if it is an accident and they end up releasing not a stereotypical movie, but a movie that makes no sense because they have to rewrite the ending?
My answer is that won't happen because Stallone's too good for that.
Yeah, I would
he's a good
agree. I
writer.
like
Stallone has written 6 solid Rocky movies. I know there's a lot of people who don't like 5. If 5 is probably the weakest of them, there's a lot of people that don't like 4. But any way you slice it, none of those scripts are terrible scripts. And if anybody could fix a bad third act, it'd be Stallone. I trust him as writer. That doesn't happen. And he's got too much control. That's the kind of thing that happens when you're writing by committee. That's the Ninja Turtles thing. You know, and this isn't like that. This would be Stallone. If that were what happened, it would be so bizarre, though. If somebody was actually dumb enough to shoot that and not think, oh my God, people can read every word on this upside down page. I mean, that would be really weird, right?
Now, my question is, this movie is called Creed, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, if they make a sequel, would it be called Creed with Arms Wide Open?
I knew you were going to say that.
Or maybe it'd be called Higher.
I don't think now is the time to do that, given that he's been in the press lately as being homeless and kind of out to lunch.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, though, the truth is stranger than fiction. So what if... What would you say if it does come to pass that was the end of the movie and that's exactly what they released?
I would assume they did it on purpose and that I don't understand viral marketing.
Yeah.
It's not what I would have done. It's certainly unconventional, which is the dictionary definition of viral marketing.
Do you remember when they thought that Snakes on a Plane was going to be so huge because of how viral the whole saying went, and then Sam Jackson was on all these shows?
It didn't bomb.
It didn't bomb, but it didn't do as big as they thought it was going to be. Sam Jackson was on the show
Right.
saying, like, this is going to be the biggest movie ever, and it was kind of mediocre.
That's true.
So viral marketing, when you try to viral market, sometimes it bombs
that doesn't
too.
apply to what we're talking about, though, because that was clearly, obviously supposed to be viral marketing. I don't know what the heck this is.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well,
This is bacterial marketing.
The last thing I wanted to mention, and this is a thing that I have not talked about or weighed in on it at all, and I haven't. Folks have asked me to review it. I haven't gotten around to watching it. I had no intention on seeing it. And then, you know, we had all this giant controversy in Korea wanting to blow us up over it. And so now, and I don't get into the political stuff. So I had kind of planned on not talking about the interview, but I do think that this is historically really interesting, or will be historically really, really interesting. And I thought I'd bring it up. It bombed opening weekend. It totally bombed. And when I say opening weekend, I mean when it was released on the internet, because the interview. Famously now, the big 5 movie theater companies chose not to show it. And everybody complained, a lot of people, including Obama himself, complained that Sony was kind of putting their tail between their legs and not releasing it. But Sony's response was, well, what are we supposed to do? The movie theaters won't show it. Sony had every intention on releasing it online, and as far as I've read, and who knows how true this is, but as far as I've read, the CEO of Sony had already made the decision to to go ahead and release it on the internet instead, and it's in a few movie theaters. There's a few smaller companies that chose to show it, but he chose to do it instead, and it had nothing to do with Obama's statement because he had already chosen to do that, and a lot of people called them cowards and stuff, and then people on the other side are calling it a kind of forced controversy, which is kind of how I see. I agree with that. I think it was a forced controversy, kind of a manufactured controversy, and anyway, so it's come out now, and this inadvertently was a really interesting, and this is the reason I'm bringing it up, because this is the kind of thing I'm very interested in, kind of experiment to see how well the internet can supplant movie theaters as the primary place to get things when they come out, and how quickly we're going to be as a culture getting past movie theaters and not actually having people go to them when a movie comes out. As much press as this thing got, as much as it was trending everywhere for a week, it didn't even come close to making its money back the first few days.
Well, no, it didn't. However, I was actually watching the 5 o'clock news today at work. They said it broke the records for online sales. Now there are some there are some people out there who just aren't gonna go get it online. Now,
Right.
me personally, I wanted to see it at the local theater that actually is showing it. I just didn't have anybody to go with, so I didn't go yet. I plan on going. I plan on going, maybe with a relative or something.
Yeah.
But
I think
it is very interesting, though.
I think the more important thing here is that you were watching the 5 o'clock news at work.
Well, the TV stays on in the break room, and I work at a bank, so it's just there.
But Brandon,
Banker's hours, I tell you.
The thing is, though, it's the only way you could see it. It got all that press.
Yes.
Sony really thought that a lot of people that don't usually watch online would.
Yes.
And also, I'm not looking at numbers right now, so I don't know. I'd have to do actual research to really make this statement. Yeah, but it wasn't in very many.
Right.
I mean, that's
not saying much.
That's not saying
Yeah.
much. And I mean, like in the theaters, it only did 2.8 million because that's how many theaters it was in. You know, it wasn't enough. But anyway, so what I was going to say is, I don't know if I have enough of an like. I don't know if I can make enough of an educated guess to say this, but I think my guess is, just from what little I know, maybe not most people, but a lot of people stream now. Like it's really hard to swallow that it is perplexing to me that it didn't do better than it did.
Well, here's the thing. For me,
it did break those records, but people thought it would break them a lot harder.
They did. Now, here's the thing that kept me away from getting it online is I would have gotten it on Netflix had it been on Netflix. I wasn't going to give my money to YouTube, and I wasn't going to give my money to Google Stream or whatever. If it had been on Netflix, I would have seen it.
Right.
Other than that, I would have watched it in the movie theater. It just wasn't for me to go stream. For me personally,
right? And sure, but you're one person, Brandon, and I think most people, or not most people, but I think a lot of people do Amazon rental now.
Yeah, they do
things like that. And
is it on Amazon?
It's on YouTube, and it's on a couple other places. And maybe part of the problem was the outlet, and not that it was internet versus movie theater. But what is interesting about this to me is that this might have been. And maybe I shouldn't be real perplexed by it, but what's really interesting about it is it tells Hollywood, I think as much press as that thing got, that people didn't rush to go see it wherever it was, it tells Hollywood movie theaters are still viable.
Yeah.
And that makes it, and what I'm interested in is seeing how that ends up influencing movies over the next couple of years. If that movie had made its money back online opening weekend, it would have changed the world.
Yes, it would have.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It was an opportunity to make Hollywood look harder at the internet. And in a way, I'm glad they didn't. I mean, in a way, I'm glad that didn't happen. And in another way, it would have been so interesting.
Well, I apologize for missing the point firsthand, but then it became clear as we were talking about it.
Whatever. But anyway, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I totally agree.